And it really hit me while I was doing this is your story is actually a journey through PTSD. That's what your story is. And I've told you before, I think that's kind of the market we need to go to.
That's what they diagnosed me with.
But it's a voyeur's look at what experiencing PTSD is like.
Yeah, I thought it was fake. I swear all these things, ADD, ADHD, all the stuff they come up with. I'm like, come on, no, you're lazy. No, you're hyperactive. No, you're this, Beat that ass, I'm old school. Now I think differently. You know what I mean? Like depression, oh my God, I never believed that. When people could get, what it was manic depressing, it's not on that, it's not real. And I totally think different. I mean, I'm a believer now.
A believer.
Okay, let's read it.
All right, so, and I actually wrote down some answers. So I was hoping you were going to read it. So you'd have an idea. But resolve, courage, hope. What's this story really about?
What's it about? Finding yourself in the deepest valley you've ever been in or dreamed of being in your entire life, and feeling like you were alone and there wasn't a soul around and no one understood, no one could help you, and feeling like you were on the brink of absolutely going insane, and then finally having enough and trying to scrape together a plan and trying to crawl out, never thinking you'd make it, and eventually I did. I think I literally thought life as I knew it was done. I didn't think I'd ever be okay.
It sounds like it would be a difficult story to tell. So why did you decide to tell it?
Because I loved my employees more than anything in the world, and the death was so senseless, and the grieving and the pain I went through was so senseless, and everything could have just been avoided. And I feel like when you go through something, if you bring credibility to it for someone else who may be suffering or in a similar situation, or not so similar, but still their bottom, their valley. And I feel like if I can reach out and help one person like I wish I had, then it was all worth it, and they maybe didn't die in vain. And I also wanted to do it because for whatever reason it was therapeutic. It was getting it out and getting it on paper. I actually felt, it was horrible, the process, but towards the end, towards completion, I felt things lift, and I don't know why that is, but I think it's because the terrible story came out, one I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want them to hurt. And I think people that want to read this is going to be people that, I don't know, hopefully it'll help somebody, but it's the bottom line.
So, you suffered PTSD. Can you tell us a little bit about what the experience is like?
It's actually probably the worst. I would compare it, if you were old enough to have watched Nightmare on Elm Street, with the old Freddy Krueger movie. You'd go to sleep and he would come to kill you, type of thing. I always looked at my bed as total comfort. Like, that was the goal for the day. Just wind down and hit bed, and who doesn't like bed, especially when you're 50 or whatever age I am now. And I looked at it then as it was the last place I wanted to go, because I already knew what was going to happen as soon as I went to sleep. And what happens is, through the sleep testing that they did on me, in the 8 hours of hell you go through, you only actually sleep an hour and a half average. And what happens is your body, it's almost like having an out-of-body experience. You go into the deepest dream, not a dream, a nightmare, the most intense nightmares that you've ever dreamed of in your life. Not the kind where you wake up gasping and, oh, that was scary, I'm going back to sleep, It was just, they're intense, and you're always fighting to save your life or to save someone's life. And it's never anything to do with my experience. It was never anything to do with the actual event itself. I want to say thank God, but these were just as torturous. And you would be in fight or flight mode all night, and if you ever did wake up, you woke up just screaming, and you'd wake up soaking wet from sweat, drenched actually, like you stepped out of a shower maybe an hour ago. That's how damp you were. I even laid my pajamas out because I put those out for a reason. I started wearing pajamas to bed to protect the bed, and I changed clothes 2-3 times in the middle of the night because I was so sweaty and cold and shaky. And then one night, I threw myself down a flight of stairs because I was at the top of a staircase fighting another guy, like a war scene. And I determined when he went to reload, I was going to jump to another foxhole, and he would, when I knew he was reloading, I would move, and then he wouldn't expect me. When I heard him shoot at the other foxhole, I was going to come up and kill him. And I ended up throwing myself down a flight of stairs. When in my dreams, I imagined him reloading. Dreamed one night that I was dead. Had to get somebody to bury me, and no one would. And all the emotions I went through. And then the worst part about night terrors or PTSD is that when you awake, it's not over. It's almost like the brain puts a bookmark in the nightmare. And when you go to sleep, you pick up exactly where you left off. There's no replay, there's no rewind, there's no fast forward to get out of it. You're back into it instantly. And the battle rages all night. Every night.
That must have been very difficult. So, the original title of the book, you had suggested The Way Back. Mm-hmm. And then you changed it to Resolve, Courage, Hope. So, what does Resolve, Courage, Hope mean in the title?
Right after the girls were murdered, I occupied a little motorhome on the parking lot that a nationwide agent had loaned me, and I was very grateful, but I hated that motorhome just because it's so closely associated with what happened. I can remember the smell of it, just everything. But I spent a lot of time in the back of that motorhome in a bed, curled up in a fetal position and just crying and sobbing, and then suck it up and come out and try to be a man for another 15-20 minutes and then go back and cry some more. And I was angry with God, and I was holding teddy bears and crying like nothing you normally would want to admit, but that's where I was in this thing. And during my prayer/anger session with God, I finally came up with a determination that what it was, like I said before, it felt oddly almost like deja vu, which was disgusting to even say that. I was so angry with myself, but in a weird sense I kept feeling this familiar feeling, and it took me a long time to realize I was thinking about 9/11. That devastated me. That day changed my whole life forever. 9/11. And even though I didn't know those people, my God, it was so horrible thinking about it. But anyway, I was scared. I was so scared to rebuild. I was scared to leave the camper. I was scared for someone to come in the camper. And then I got mad. And I yelled at Bobby, brought him across the parking lot, and I told him, I kind of mumbled on, and I said, there's no Twin Towers back because they're cowards. They're scared. They're scared they're going to come back and finish the job, or they're going to do the job again. There are a bunch of, and I used some choice words that guys use between each other, and I said, oh no, we're rebuilding this. And I got so sick of seeing the cars come by and bring teddy bears and flowers and candles. I mean, enough was enough. There was more teddy bears at that office than there probably was people in Lake Wales population. And I got angry, and I said, I want a sign right there. And I pointed across the building, and I said, I want it to say resolve, courage, and hope. I said, resolve, we just did that because I made a decision, and by God, that's what we're going to do. Courage, I don't know where the hell that's going to come from. And hope, I remember telling him I don't even think it exists. But I want it right there. And within a day, the sign was up. Big, beautiful sign, actually. And it was donated by a sign company. So I don't know how fast the news traveled that I wanted to resolve Courage Hope Up. They got Resolve Courage Hope Up. And then I thought, boy, I really stepped in it. That's a commitment. Well, I read the sign. I thought, there's no turning back now. And rebuilt it. And the momentum changed with people. They stopped pulling up and crying and bawling their eyes out and being sad, and they started tooting their horns and giving me a thumbs up out the window when they see us in the parking lot. Because that's the only things we had was a parking lot and the camper. So it was more of a message to, it looked like a message to Polk County or Lake Wales, but it was more of a reminder to me.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. Well, I'm excited to share it with the world.
Awesome.
And I guess that's it.
That's it?
I don't want it to be too long.
Okay.
Are
we done?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Okay, good, because
it was perfect.